15 years ago, I accidentally stumbled upon this new way of practicing by watching one of my friends just kind of noodling on the sofa. Now, you know who that is. I'll tell you more in the bulk of this video, but what he was doing was truly different, but not for the reasons you think. And that really changed the way that I approach guitar. And anytime I practice, I now use what I discovered from watching my friend just noodle. It's a 3-layer approach. I call it the body, mind, soul approach. And at the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to implement that in your playing, and you're gonna wanna do it because the progress you're gonna make it just by using this super simple tactic is really mind-blowing. Really quick, if this is your first visit on the channel, welcome. My name is David Wallimann. I have been teaching and playing guitar professionally for 30+ years, and I discovered some really important, essential concepts along the way that oftentimes are not talked about. They seem really simple, but they have such a profound impact on your playing. Stick around because I don't want you to miss out. In this video, we're gonna do just that. Grab your guitar, let's get started. Quick story, this happened about 15 years ago. About 15 years ago, I got a phone call by a gentleman called Dweezil Zappa. He invited me to teach at his summer music camp. I say 15 years ago, maybe it was more like 13, I can't remember. But he invited me to teach over there with other instructors. And one of these instructors was an old friend, Tom Quayle. And Tom, if you don't know Tom, well, you know, he's amazing. But there was Tom Quayle, there was Daryl Gable, Osnoy, a bunch of guitar players in the same room. We were all staying in this Airbnb and teaching during the day. And then in the evening, we would all hang out on the couch with our guitars and just, you know, yeah. You know what happens when guitar players are sitting together in the same room, right? We talk guitars. And I don't know why, but something really struck me. Tom, who's known for his amazing chops and legato stuff, I think Tom had a sheet of music in front of him, like a jazz standard or something, and he was reading it and playing, and it sounded a lot more like a tune than, you know, the typical licks that all the other guys were doing. Honestly, I don't remember exactly what he was playing, but kind of something along those lines. Now, the point is not that reading is important, but the point is what I was hearing sounded like something memorable, something singable, a song. And honestly, if you would have asked me at the time, hey, David, play a song, I'd be like, well, I play guitar, but a song, I need a backing track for that, right? Give me a backing track, I'll jam along, and like those kind of things. I started thinking about what made that so appealing to me. It was memorable. It was quite simple to play, and yet you'll see that it's not that simple. But that's all I remembered out of all those evenings in that Airbnb, all the amazing chops, all those amazing players. What Tom was playing just really resonated with me. Tom, if you're watching this video, thank you. You probably had no idea, right? Well, now you know. Say hello in the comment. So how did that affect my practice? Well, I knew that I didn't necessarily want to be a reader, like reading music. That's great, it has its uses, but that's not necessarily what I wanted. I wanted to be more expressive in my playing. I love to write music. That's what I love doing the most. And improvising with people and jamming and creating. Didn't necessarily want to read something. But if I thought about those tunes that Tom was playing, they had a few things in common. They were simple. And what made them simple was the fact that I could hum them or whistle them right away. And they were built for that. See, we was reading those jazz standards, which a lot of them were written for horn players or wind players, right? Where you have to take a breath. And so all the rhythm sections were breathable. Take a breath, breathe out, because they had to play them as they were breathing out on their sax or whatever it is, and then take another breath. So all those themes were built that way. And the other thing is that all of them were kind of in a narrow range of the fretboard. He was playing in a very narrow area of the fretboard. He wasn't going all the way up, all the way down, which makes sense because those themes were born from singing simple tunes. So I don't know what exactly triggered those thoughts, but as I was thinking about what Tom was doing, I realized that it kind of had all the different aspects that you need when you're playing or practicing the instrument. And as I was thinking through that, I realized that there's really three main approaches to not only the instrument really, but anything in life. The way that we perceive things, the way that we do things. Body, mind, soul, three different things. Take reading a book, for example. I promise this has to do with music. We're gonna get to that, but reading a book is a good example. So I've got a book. I am flipping the pages. That's my body that's involved, right? My mind is actually understanding the ideas in the book, and my soul is gonna feel things from the book, if it's a good book, right? So they're all kind of enmeshed together. What does that look like on the instrument? This, by the way, if you don't have to buy this, is Le Parfum, classic French book. I haven't read it in a while, so anyways, if you're curious. Back to the guitar. Anything that has to do with touching the guitar, whether it's plucking a note, playing a chord, playing a sequence, is gonna be the body acting on the guitar. And a lot of players focus mostly on technique. And that's kind of what I was expecting in that room with all those players in that Airbnb. And most of us, me included, were more involved with the body playing guitar, noodling. Body was active, just mindless, soulless, body full experience, the technical thing. And that had been my way of practicing for so many years. The mind is anything that has to do with thinking through what you're doing. For example, I've got a chord here. What kind of scale could I use with that? Well, this chord is made of, right there, I'm using my mind, the intellect, anything theory driven. And then the soul, that has to do with feel. Think of players who say, well, I don't really do theory. I'm more of a feel player. Oftentimes the word feel is replaced by blues. I'm more of a blues player. I don't really do theory. I don't really know the notes that I'm playing. Modes, no. That's the mind. I'm more of a feel player. You need all of those. We're gonna get into how to apply this on the instrument in just a second, but really quick, if you're watching this video, it means that you're not fully satisfied with your playing. I think that's great. You shouldn't be fully satisfied. There's always something new to learn. But I also found that typically there is one thing that is holding you back from truly progressing on the instrument. This is particularly true for players who have been playing for 10 plus years. If that's you, I have a free quiz. The link is in the description of this video. Check it out. Answer the questions, be very truthful, and I'll show you exactly what is holding you back so that you can start progressing again and really enjoy the instrument. It'll take 5 minutes. I'll tell you what it is that you need to work on, and also I'm gonna give you a free custom video lesson showing you what it is that you should be doing. So anyways, that's for after the video. Check out the link in the description. So how do you involve the body, the mind? What's that? Well, that's a root, that's a fifth. And the soul. I don't know if it's a good representation of the soul. Anyways, how do you do that? Well, it starts with just the awareness of these three things: body, mind, soul. Technique, theory, and feel. And although there are a lot of approaches, the one that I love the most is the one that my friend Tom was doing that evening. Let's get practical. We're gonna start with a scale. Could be any scale, maybe a scale you're not really familiar with, or something you're really familiar with but bored with, whatever it is. Just take Lydian. And we're gonna work in E. The reason we're using E is that low E string can be plucked and act as a magnet. Anything we play in E Lydian is gonna be attracted to that. And then we're gonna build themes. So I'm starting with my E. The theme needs to be breathable, so I'll breathe in, breathe out. As I'm breathing out, that's the only time I have to play my theme. Okay, now we got a lot of notes on E Lydian. We need to narrow our view a little bit. That's where I'm my intellect is coming in, my visualization. It's not really technique. It's more of the mind thing, right? Okay, so maybe in this zone of the fretboard, right here. It could be any, right? But my mind is involved in the process. E Lydian, now my technique is coming in, my body, my breath. It's very physical. That is my open statement. I'm gonna stop there because I'm out of breath. Now, how can I make this a little more personal, add feel to it? Well, maybe I can whisper it. Okay. Now, remember what I told you at the beginning? What made what I was hearing from Tom so appealing is that it was simple. And it was all kind of like self-contained. It wasn't all the way up and down the fretboard, narrow area of the fretboard. The reason is that all those themes were born from singing. And when you're singing, you keep things simple. You're not gonna go all the way up and all the way down. I mean, you can, but that's not how it works. Any kind of like popular song that you can think of, da 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 da, or la da 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 da, or whatever, I'm making those up. They're all contained, self-contained. So we've got our opening statement. Everything's attracted to my magnet, which is E. Here's the opening. It's breathable. I'm using my body as a technique. My feel, I whispered that. I'm thinking through the process. The process being that, you know, these notes are matching and attracted to this. I'm thinking through it. And then I'm going to continue this. See this as the opening of a story. You can even tie words to it. The little prince walked in the forest. Okay, that's what it is. More like whispered. The little prince walked in the forest. Continuation of your story needs to be not only a direct continuation, but also it needs to be self-contained so that people who didn't hear the beginning will kind of have an idea of what they're jumping into. So it might be the forest was really dark and the prince was scared. You've got all the elements that were introduced in the first part, but we're adding a little more details. So how do we do that musically? Well, first of all, we stick to the same zone of the fretboard. We might use some things, that hint to the opening. It could be a rhythm thing, rythmique. See the French words coming out. Rhythmically, rhythm, whatever it is. I always have one of these in my videos, brain freeze. Or maybe it's the choice of notes, but something that is kind of like reminding you of what was the opening so that you don't really need to hear the opening to know what you're jumping into. Here's the opening. How do we make a second part that has hints of that opening? Well, maybe same kind of like rhythm, same kind of quietness, and same kind of notes. That's great. So now both together. Magnet. And the open, the second part like that. You kind of know what kind of story you're jumping into. I don't have this opening followed by that. See, now I'm starting to really engage more of my mind. I'm thinking through things. It's all enmeshed. Body, mind, soul. All those things together. Now, I took this approach, the thematic approach, for my time on the guitar today. But it could have been anything else. It could be songwriting, or it could be trying to find a cool chord progression. As long as you're involving the body, the mind, and the soul, you're gonna progress so much better on the instrument instead of just focusing on one of these things, just technique or just theory, or just, it's got to be all encompassed together. Now this begs the question, where do you start? Are you going to start with building themes, chord progressions, a song? Well, that's where this is going to help you. Answer the few questions. It's going to tell you exactly where you should be starting using body, mind, soul. Man, I promise this is going to be well worth your time, and it's completely free. Answer the questions here, and I'll tell you exactly what to practice and how. I'll meet you right there.